Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was an electrifying moment before this committee, and I'm sorry Senator Kennedy isn't here for me to hear this, but it was his interrogation of one of the nominees suggested by this administration for a lifetime appointment to the district court. If those who were present won't ever forget the day when 5 nominees sat at the table and Senator Kennedy very carefully asked them their experience when it came to trial practice. He went through a long litany of routine things which trial lawyers are used to facing, and there was one of the nominees who didn't raise his hand on any inquiry. And finally, Senator Kennedy zeroed in on him and asked 2 or 3 very fundamental questions about procedure in a trial. This poor man before us really couldn't answer any of the questions. It was a sad moment, an embarrassing moment. But it was a reminder that we have to have the nerve and the will to ask hard questions of people who are taking on big jobs. And sometimes they're not ready for them. I think that applies to Jeffrey Rosen. Most people, if you said Deputy Attorney General before, would say, well, that's some underling, but we know better. After Rod Rosenstein, we know that the Deputy Attorney General can have significant responsibilities beyond the obvious, not just in the daily running of the Department of Justice, but in matters that have serious impact on justice in our nation. I sat down with Mr. Rosen, blank slate. I knew nothing about him. I knew that he had been a practicing lawyer and had some contacts with the current Attorney General in the past. And I came to the conclusion, unfortunately, that he does not have the qualifications for this job. The Deputy Attorney General runs the day-to-day operations of the Justice Department, oversees law enforcement, but Mr. Rosen has no experience working in the Justice Department or handling criminal cases. None. When I asked him about the First Step Act, we know that one because the President signed it into law at the end of December, he said, and I quote, he had quote, begun getting informed about it. When I asked him about the Deputy Attorney General's role in overseeing the Bureau of Prisons and addressing BOP's critical staffing shortages, he said he wasn't familiar with it and couldn't comment. Then I asked him about voting rights and voter suppression. He said he hadn't had the occasion to take a look at that issue. I asked him about the role of the Drug Enforcement Administration in setting the quotas for opioid production in the United States. He wasn't aware of it. When I asked him about the Department of Justice's role in immigration matters, including his priorities for the Executive Office of Immigration Review, he said he looked forward to learning more about it. Mr. Rosen was a longtime colleague of the Attorney General at a prominent law firm, and he's held aide positions with other government agencies. That does not qualify him to be the Deputy Attorney General. I've been around Illinois politics for a few years. I know a lot of my friends are solid Republicans and very conservative. Many of them are lawyers. I trust them in terms of their professional ability when it comes to legal matters. The differences in politics are not important when it comes to that. But this individual is not prepared for this job. He couldn't answer the most basic questions. I cannot believe the Republican Party of America is so bereft of talent that this is the best they can do for the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. I'll be opposing his nomination.